When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, our west coast became a potential combat zone.
Beyond Heart Mountain is a story about the history of the Japanese residents who thrived in downtown Cheyenne on West 17th Street. They lived and worked there beginning in the 1920s. The two-block area declined in part due to racial injustice towards Japanese during and following World War II. The community was finally dispersed by the 1970s. Since then, the neighborhood has been very quiet. There was renewed interest in the once vibrant Japanese community by a housing development planned to be built at 509 West 17th Street, site of the last building standing. The Lotus condominium project in the new Nishigawa neighborhood was a renaissance of sorts for me. I realized that there was much that I had forgotten about my past and want to remember it. I wonder what kind of ancestor I'll end up being. While there were many prominent Japanese families in Cheyenne, this focuses on those who had a presence in the West 17th Street downtown community. My stories and point of view are included to provide context and also because my family lived and worked in the neighborhood. The story tells about the importance of social cohesiveness among a community of people and how that relates to fostering and maintaining a sense of place where we can all live, work, and play. I interviewed 4 of my childhood acquaintances who had a presence in the Japanese neighborhood in West Cheyenne. We were COVID distanced in an online Zoom room. Terie Miyamoto's family owned Baker's Place. Her Aunt Marge is one of the last surviving members of the Nisei generation from Wyoming. Both now live in Denver.
It's a part of Cheyenne's history that we treasured because we were a part of it, and we knew the people and families that lived in it and that supported one another. And I think that's pretty much gone. You don't see communities anymore where they're a homogeneous kind of ethnicity anymore. They're pretty diverse.
Robert Walters and I first met as Sunday school students at the First Presbyterian Church. He's now an attorney and lives in Cheyenne.
Even though there was a Japanese business community there, it was really not Japanese owned or owned by Japanese people. So, but those were people that were very hardworking, and they were a strong pillar of the community. But like a lot of things in Cheyenne, things that seem to be staples have disappeared.
Brian Matsuyama is older than me. He grew up in Cheyenne but now lives in Washington State. His family owned the California Fish Market.
I wouldn't have been born, I don't think, had it not been for the war and relocation. There would have been no reason for my mom, who was born in Auburn, which is south of Seattle, would have been no reason for her to ever go to Wyoming, where she met my dad, had they not been relocated.
Carolou Kishiyama Hough and her family purchased the California Fish Market from the Matsuyamas. She's a shirt-tail cousin of mine. Her sister Jean married my dad's brother Jake. Carol still lives in Cheyenne.
I just keep hoping that things will change around as far as the racism and the bullying. It seems like it's all flared up again. I was in the grocery store when the COVID all started, and I was in line, and this gentleman behind me said very, very loud, "You know, it's the Chinese that have started all this, and that's why we're going through all this." I just turned back around, but he said it again and louder. And I thought, I'm 70 years old and I'm still going through this.
This story is a personal and cultural survey of the once vibrant 400 and 500 blocks of West 17th Street in downtown Cheyenne.